Welcome to the Small Steps, Big Wins podcast. I'm dedicated to helping you take control of your life. Together, we'll explore practical tips, expert advice, and inspiring stories to help you overcome obstacles and achieve your goals. Making small changes is possible and can lead to big results. Are you ready? Let's go do this. Well, Chase, welcome back to the podcast. You know, we closed out 2024 with our last podcast, and we promised my listeners that we were going to help them make their 2025 their best year yet, which I learned from you. So let's dive in. Let's dive in. Opening thoughts before we go deeper.
If you have a compass to where you want to go, you can constantly be on your way there and always be living your best year ever.
Love it.
Hmm.
I love that. I learned living your best year yet from you last year, I think it was, and what was really intriguing about that for me is that I never thought of phrasing it that as I go into the next year, it's living the best year ever. Because, you know, what I did, and I'm sure other people do it too, is you look back at your history, you look back at your life, and you're like, oh, that was a great year. We did that. And then you go into another year and you go, wow, that year really sucked because this, and this happened. And then you kind of, you put your life on this continuum of highs and lows because you tell yourself a story around that particular year. And what I learned and what I love about phrasing each year that goes by as your best year yet is that you are setting the intention that no matter what happens, you are looking for it to be better than what it was the year before. And the beauty of that is there is no ceiling. You just keep going up. So I
100%.
thank you for that.
Oh, thank you for leaning into it. You know, it's my favorite definition of winners and losers. Winners focus on the wins and losers focus on the losses.
Hmm.
We all have both of them. Which way do you want to look?
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Sometimes we focus too much on the losses, don't we?
Yeah.
We magnify the loss. And I wonder if this is a cultural or societal thing. We magnify the losses and we minimize, sorry, let me rephrase that. We magnify the losses and we minimize the wins. And I would go so far to say we minimize the wins because we don't want to think too highly of ourselves in the fact that we won at something, because we have this, some people come from this belief system or paradigm system where you think, well, if I give myself credit for doing something amazing, I'm self-centered or I'm egotistical or something like that, where we just downplay the wins that we have in our lives and we magnify those losses. Thoughts?
My favorite definition of enlightenment is to see reality as it actually is. And if we refuse to own our wins and own our powers and own our talents, then we are going to war with reality. And when you go to war with reality, you will lose 10 times out of 10.
How do you help yourself see reality?
Jeez.
You knew what you were getting into when we have a podcast together, because we do this all the time, don't I? I just, you come up with a phrase and then I come up with a question that just, like, okay, Chase, you opened the box. Let's go there.
Well, the chuckle
Because
was like, how long do we have? Like,
yeah. Yeah, but think about it. Reality is, is reality objective or is it subjective?
yeah.
How
Well,
can you
yes.
tell how can you, yes and yes, right? How can you
Yeah.
tell the differences? Whose eyes are, so how do you keep yourself rooted in reality, but be objective at the same time while you're trying to evaluate X, Y, and Z that's happened?
My answer.
There's that breath again.
Down
And
regulate
I'm
your
doing the
flipping
same, you
nervous
just can't
system.
hear it.
Yeah. Down regulate your flipping nervous system is my answer. When we get up and we walk around with our breath in our chest with feeling like there's a stampede running around in our rib cage and wondering why the world is out to get us. Like, good luck ever seeing reality because you are so married to the story that something is wrong in life that you will never see the ways to move forward.
Oh, there it is.
Uh, so if you want to,
Always focusing on what's wrong and not looking at what's right, which is what we
yeah,
opened with.
yeah, and being objective about what is wrong, like,
Mm.
and then recognizing, is it wrong or is it just is? There's the
Mm.
old parable of, I think it's an old Eastern philosophy parable, Taoist or Buddhist, I believe it's Buddhist. Um, a man's horse runs away, gets out and runs away, and uh, this man's neighbor goes, "Oh man, that's so bad." He goes, "Is it? I don't know." Horse comes back and brings a whole bunch of wild Mustangs with him. Neighbor goes, "Wow, that's so great! You got a bunch of free horses." Man goes, "Is it? I don't know." Man's son was trying to break in one of the Mustangs, and in trying to tame him, he fell and broke his leg. And the man's neighbor goes, "Oh, that's so sad about your son." He goes, "Is it? I don't know." Then a big war breaks out, and the army comes through recruiting all the young men. And the man's son didn't have to go because he had a broken leg. And the neighbor goes, "Man, you got so lucky that your son has a broken leg." It's like, "Oh, am
Is
I?
it?
I don't know." You could go on and on and on there, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
you know, is something wrong? Is it bad, or is it? It may be painful in the moment, but the if we choose to hang on to that emotional signature, a lot of people I know will say that emotions like really only last for like 90 seconds,
Mhm.
and after that, it's up to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
So.
100%. It's how we choose to look at it and what we choose to do with it. And it's really stories that we tell ourselves too, isn't it? I mean,
Hmm.
for me personally, when I go through a situation or a trial at this point, I used to go down the road of, oh, woe is me. I can't believe this is happening to me. When is it going to be over? I flipped the script on myself. And I got this really from a coaching program that I had done. And I tell myself now, obstacles make me stronger.
Hmm.
Bring it on. Let's just go.
100%.
Let's see what I can learn from this and move on from it. But that obstacle is going to make me stronger. It's going to change me to become a better version of myself if I allow it. That's a choice,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't everything 100% a choice? Do you want to go down that road? You know what I mean.
Well, and that's there's more and more people are becoming aware of the whole translation of need to or get to.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, get to or choose to.
Mm,
Like it may not be you may feel emotionally resistant to, well, I get to go do this thing. I get to take care of my sick relative. Well, I choose to because I'm doing it.
mm,
It is a
mhm.
choice. Like you may feel stuck in the job you're in. Well, guess what? You chose it at one
Chose
point or
it,
another.
right? You can choose
And
to get out of it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and
S
and this is the first one that comes to mind without going down a political rabbit hole. But 3 years ago, there were a bunch of people that were saying, "Well, I have to get this certain medical intervention because if I don't, I'll get booted from my job."
Mm,
And well, you're choosing to keep the safety of your job, and that's okay. But you are making a choice. Like
right.
if well, I don't want to do this thing, but I need what you're choosing.
Yeah,
And,
it's
and that's
choosing.
yeah,
We rationalize with ourselves that it's not a choice. It's somebody else is making that choice for us, but really it's just a relinquishment of our power. We're giving it
it's
to somebody else to allow to make that decision for us. That could be a very rough statement, honestly, but it's all choice, really. It
yeah,
is. And some had to make the difficult choice. They're like, "Well,
yeah.
maybe I don't have the option to go look for another job." And that is a difficult choice, and I'm not minimizing the difficult choices
No,
because sometimes you have to, but in order I think the bigger picture here is to realize that it was a choice and to accept the choice for
yes,
what it was. And rather
exactly.
than sitting in the regret on it or going down the road of, well, or lamenting,
Yeah,
I didn't want to make that choice, but well, it's like, no, you did the best you could at that time to make that choice. So since we're talking about 2025,
Yeah.
and making 2025 our best year yet,
Mm,
let's bring back around to this idea of choice. How do
mm.
we make our 2025 the best year ever
I'm gonna throw a
in
curveball here.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Is first we go back to 2014
Okay, why 2014?
because it's a decade ago.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
What was different? How different was your life a decade ago?
Oh my god, yeah.
Okay. So now in looking forward, where do we want to be in 2035 as opposed to
Mm,
2025? Okay. Set absolutely unrealistic. Like the things that you can achieve in a decade are massive.
yes,
And most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade or three
love
or
it.
7 years is the quote. But a lot of people underestimate what they can do on a long timeline. If I look back a decade, I had a fledgling gym, right? Um, at the end of 2014. I was just getting going. I didn't know jack about really running a business. Uh, and we do that. We go a decade out and then we pull it back in and we chunk it down to 5 years, to 3 years,
To
and to a
1
year.
year.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that exercise. I'm assuming that's what you do when you
Yes.
close out your 2024 and you look to your 2025 and get that on paper and that vision, that goal. Just even just asking ourselves the question, where were you 10 years ago? Then where
Hmm.
were you 5 years ago? Where were you 3 years ago? Where were you a month ago? In my case, where was I 6 months ago? Completely
Yeah.
different than where I am today.
Yeah.
And just I love the statement that you made. We overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in ten
Yes.
years. I really, really appreciate that. What would your advice be to someone who hasn't really done goal setting before? They're listening to us speaking and they're like, wow, that's virtually impossible for me to figure out where I'm going to be a year from now or 5 years from now or 10 years from now.
A
How would you
goal,
help them?
a goal not written down is only a dream. 30-year study out of Harvard shows that you're 1,000% or 10,000% more likely to achieve a goal if you just scribble it on a bar napkin. So just write something down to start. And then if you're like, well, how do I do it? Well, then we'll go to Kipling's law that a problem or, yeah, problem written down is half solved. Now
Mm.
switch it from a problem and say a question written down is half answered.
Ooh, I like that.
So as opposed to writing the problem down of I can't ever make $200,000 in a year, write down how can I ever
How
make
can I
2,000?
do that? Right.
Yeah.
I
And
was just
now,
gonna say flip the switch. Who do
yeah,
I have to find? Who, not how.
yeah, yeah. Who
Who
not how? Like,
Yeah,
how can I ever make $200,000 a year? And then take out the ever. How can I make $200,000 a year?
yeah.
And it
I
becomes super actionable.
love it.
Yeah. Write down
Right
the
now
question and answer.
right down Okay, so let's take this one step further. Suppose you've got this goal and it's somewhat what you think at first is unattainable. So let's take mine. I'll be super vulnerable right now. I wanna open a yarn shop, okay?
Awesome.
I do. I have a passion for that. I can see it getting bigger. I have ideas beyond it, how I can help the crafting community and things like that. Now, right now, it literally is a dream.
Hmm.
I am putting it out there. It will get on paper, but I my own demons that I'm struggling with are overcoming my limiting beliefs around that goal because it is a pretty big goal. There's lots of things that have to happen in order to make that happen. But there are limiting beliefs there. I've never owned a yarn shop before. I've never opened anything like that. I've never done anything like that before. I've only been, I've only been these certain professions in my past. What would you say?
Until you were those certain like, have you ever stepped into a new profession?
Well, yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool. So we know you're
Yes, I
capable of
have.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I did that this year.
Yeah.
Oh my god, now I know where you're going with it.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Now
You
there's
answered my
also a
question.
on the business side of things, though, there's an exercise that I run through with my clients called the evil inner business partner. And the
Oh, I
prompts
like it.
are this: my evil inner business partner says things like, and then I have them write down 3 to 5 lines of things it says. My evil inner business partner makes me do things like, mm, you know, productive procrastination, not following through on tasks. Yeah, like that one time, like that one time that I had the perfect opportunity and let it slip through my fingers because boom, boom,
Mhm.
boom. If I keep listening to my evil inner business partner, I will, or if I keep listening to my evil inner business partner, finish the sentence.
I'll never start.
Yeah, I'll never start. Yeah.
I
And
was
we go
answering the questions as you were saying them.
and we go through and you've seen the story work process. We do this on a
Right.
Google Doc and
Mhm.
we work it. And then after we've worked it, after we've cleared it out, after we've felt the feelings, after we've seen if there's any stories underlying it to go check it, then we rewrite it. And we
Mm.
take all the things the evil inner business partner said and make it a good business partner. And we take the habits that the evil inner business partner makes us do and we flip them and make sure that they're habits, good habits that serve us. And we read that every morning for at least 30 days to program our brain that we are the person who does the thing. And then we ask ourselves, okay, those specific habits and actions, where are they going to go in our day? When am I going to do them? What is
Mm.
the smallest barrier to entry for me to execute on those habits?
'Kay.
And we put them in our schedule.
Wow. That requires us to get super vulnerable and super insightful with ourselves. Now, I know you are a coach
Hmm.
and you have been you've been yes, you are a coach, you're a business coach. So I'm sitting here thinking what you just outlined, how effective could it be if somebody walks through that process themselves versus having a coach to ask them those questions and walk through it with them? Can it be done solo, or what have you seen in your experience?
It can be done solo. Anytime you add a skilled practitioner to for reflection and for an outside uh, angle on translating the sentences, it does turn the volume up on it for
Makes
sure.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Because that helps. What questions do you have? Or what advice do you have somebody opening up their 2025 to make it their best year yet?
Uh,
I
Set
mean,
big, so there's this big, hairy, audacious goal thing and the B hack. And like,
yep.
I'm a fan of that out in 10 years. Be realistic. Give yourself a path to win in 2025 because so many people are, it's like, well, I saw this, thing on the internet. This millionaire says that his morning routine is like this and like, and he does this. So I'm going to go do that and I'll be a millionaire by the end of 2025. But maybe some people, if you're ready to work 80 hours a week, set realistic goals in accordance with the lifestyle you want to live.
Hmm.
Because if you want to make $200,000 a year, well, expect to do in the first year, if you're going to create that on your own, and if you're not, falling into a director role in a company, and expect to do $350,000 to $400,000 worth of work.
Hmm.
Plain and simple. And we touched on this a little bit in our closing out 2024 episode. The whole, well, I want it to feel authentic. I want it to feel in flow. There will be times when it feels like work.
Hmm.
And the hustle and grind mentality, I'm not a fan of. And if you want to make a lot of money, it's going to take a lot of work. There are a certain amount of inputs to create a certain amount of output.
Right.
And be honest with it. The biggest thing I can say going into 2025 is be honest with yourself about what you actually want. Because
Mm.
because if we're being really accurate here, what you have is often indicative of what you want.
Mm,
So if what you have, what look at what you have right now, and if you want something different, ask yourself if you're trying to have your cake and eat it too.
mm. Okay, good question. You know,
Yeah,
I heard you say that you're not a fan of the grind it out, the work and grind, but you are
yeah,
going to have to work.
yeah.
Like it's, $300,000 doesn't always come easily to somebody. I mean, like you do
Mhm.
actually have to work for that. So, how do you help somebody, or what's your perspective on shifting your frame from the grind it out, working hard, like grinding it out mentality to just plain, you know what, you're just gonna have to work hard at this.
Yeah.
And how do you make that shift? Because some people are just like, no, I'm just gonna grind it out and that's gonna be that. So what are your thoughts on that?
If you
Because
look
it
at it
almost
as a
sounds contradictory. Sorry.
well, it's almost it's a perspective thing too. Like if you look at it as a
Right.
grind, you're going to grind yourself into dust, right? And you're going to look to grind, and you're going to wear it as this badge of honor, like Atlas holding the world on his shoulders, right?
Mm,
Um, and if you look at it as flow, if you look at it as efficiency, like how can you be as efficient as possible? There's a big difference between being productive and being effective,
mm.
right? Oh, I had
Go
such
ahead,
a
give an
productive
example.
day.
Give an
I had such a
example between productive and effective.
Yeah, I like to call there's productive procrastination,
Mm,
right? And with people that I'll go with the industry that I help coach, coaches and online coaches and business owners, like, okay, well, I planned a bunch of content today, and I shot content, and I created new resources for my clients. Cool. How many conversations did you have to book calls? Oh, zero. Cool. We were not effective today.
mm.
Like we did zero to put new people in our pipeline. We stayed safe with content creation because that is something that doesn't require us to put ourselves out there.
Okay,
Huh,
fair enough.
huh.
Mm.
Um, is it something that's required for the business? Sure. And the longest lever and the strongest fulcrum. What is the
Okay,
longest lever and the strongest fulcrum that you can put your business on? What is the thing that is going to generate, like, so many people are like, well, I want to build the brand, and I want to do this and I want to do that. Cool. Let me ask you, Sue, what does a business run on? What keeps a business alive?
what keeps it you asking me what I think, what keeps a business alive?
Yeah.
Um, oh, wow. I've never been asked that. Is it in do you think is the question in general or industry specific?
Any business. What keeps
Any
it
business,
alive?
what keeps it alive? You have to have somebody interested in what it is that you're trying to sell. I mean, that
Absolutely.
if you don't have clients, customers, people coming to you, then your business is non-existent.
Right.
You have
Because
to
what do those people bring to the business?
they bring well, what they bring is they bring revenue. I mean, from
Exactly.
a
Cash
practical
flow.
specific, yeah, cash flow. I mean,
Taking it absolutely first principle practical, cash
sure,
flow keeps a business alive.
right.
And okay, now look at, okay, what is the most important thing to generate cash flow and do it productively, efficiently, and sustainably in my business? And it is so easy to go, oh, well, I'm going to create my courses and I'm going to do this. And I see it. I've seen it in myself in the past. So when I had my gym, I would work out for 90 minutes to 2 hours a day the first couple of
Mhm,
years. And I was like, well, that's all I'm doing, right? I'm just working out and getting paid. Yeah. Okay. Good luck paying rent. Um, I would work out for like 2 hours a day, and I would just expect people to come in. When I
mm,
started actually making money was when I would start going to networking events, when I started focusing on advertising, when I started dialing in our sales process, when I started learning new uncomfortable skills and actually shifting paradigms. Because a lot of us will say, "Oh, I'm going to start a business," but we hide in the easy hard of the parts of running that business that we already know, as opposed to learning new skills.
right, right,
Yeah,
right. We wanna stay in our comfort zone.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
getting uncomfortable in the unknown.
Yes. And the scary thing about the unknown is we only know what we stand to lose. We have no
Mm,
idea what we stand to gain.
Could we flip that
Absolutely.
narrative and say,
Absolutely.
"Okay, I think I have these things to gain, and if I gain those things and even more, isn't it even it's better to focus on the positive of what you're going to gain rather than on the negative?" And, I found that in setting a goal, like, let's take the yarn shop goal for a
Yeah.
second. I see it being bigger. It's not just opening the shop.
Yeah.
It's providing a place for gals and men, whoever, people to converge and create. And I see it even going further. It's a consignment shop for people to sell what they're making because there's no place like that. And then maybe even going further that when it's successful down the road, I have the opportunity to create a nonprofit that helps other crafting
Mm.
people open their own shops and start their own businesses and go even further. So I'm allowing myself to dream big because of what could be. Now, will all these things happen? I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but I put it out there. But to go, like, when you have a dream or you have something that's bigger than you, do you find that there'll be more fuel, especially if there is challenges and hardships along the way? Your
Yeah,
thoughts?
100. What comes up for me there is, 7 layers deep on the why.
Hmm,
It's okay. Well, why do you want to do this? Well, because I want to make money. Cool. Why do you want to make money? Well, because I want to pay bills. Why do you want to pay bills? Well, because I want financial freedom. Why do you want financial freedom? Because I want to be comfortable having a family. Why do you want financial? Well, because I want to be able to travel the world with my someday kids. Cool. Now we're getting somewhere.
right.
And anchoring any goal to that thing that really lights our soul up. And this is part of the reason for starting with the 10-year vision, because you can get so big and allow yourself to go so absolutely, in quotes, unreasonable with the 10-year vision that it becomes a compass for your heart. And
Mhm,
when you're making a decision for your business, you close your eyes, you take a deep breath, and you say, does this move me further away or closer to that feeling that I feel when I read my
mhm,
10-year vision?
mhm. Okay. Did you so you set a vision for yourself. This time last year, you set a vision for 2024. And now here we are, 2025. When you look back at the vision you set for yourself for 2024, how did it go?
I surpassed my monthly revenue goals by about 15%.
Awesome.
Yeah,
How'd that make you
so
feel?
good. And,
I bet, yeah.
anytime I've checked a new goal like that, I'm like, oh, I'm the same person. And the actions were relatively simple. And oftentimes we feel like, oh, when I make $20,000 a month, it's going to be, I'll feel good. And it's like, if $5,000, if you don't feel like enough at $5,000 a month, you won't feel like enough at $20,000 a month. Whatever, like, self-worth is created within, and go and use it to create a life on the external so that we can avoid playing this, oh, it's only internal that matters. But really, I have crippling anxiety because my credit cards are maxed out because I keep on telling myself the only thing that matters is internal. So I have yet to like take real quantifiable action out in the real world.
Hmm,
And there are life events that come up for people that put them in situations that are the abyss of the hero's journey to learn from. And that's not what I'm talking about.
right.
I'm like, it can be really easy to slip into I'm just letting everything happen for me. No, let's go out there and take some action too.
Yeah, at some point, like, there is something to be said for allowing opportunities to come your way, but then you have to learn when to take the action on the
Yes.
opportunity. I mean, it's not just saying, "Hey, this opportunity comes my way." It's like you have to actually lean into that as well. You said something interesting about self-worth, and my question is, if there's somebody struggling to find their inner self-worth, what's a thing or two you would say to them to help them overcome that feeling?
Same prompts as the evil inner business partner, just make it personal. My
Oh, okay.
evil inner twin, name it if you need to. Billy says this, makes me do things like this, like that one time. If I keep listening to Billy, you know, this is what'll happen. And then when you read that out loud, ask yourself, what's the strongest emotion you feel? Where in your body do you feel it? Scale of 1 to 10. How big is it? When's the first time you can remember feeling it?
Mm.
And when a memory comes up, come message me and I will help you work through it. That's what I do.
And it is effective because I have been on the receiving end of working my stories. So for that, I appreciate I can put a plug in there for you because it does. I was skeptical at first about
Mhm.
story work. And then when I started story working my stories, uh, started to transform. One of the catalysts that transformed my life. I was so appreciative for the story work process, and that's in my book too. I
That's
actually you're in my book, right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're there.
It's on my
Um,
short list to read. I'm really good at getting a backlog of books to read.
well, thank you for reading that. As we're starting to wrap up a little bit, so let's get practical for those listening. What's a practical exercise to open 2025 to set the intention to have it be the best year ever yet? And I think we talked about and touched on it, but I wanted to make it super clear.
Where do you want to be on December 31st, 2025? What steps is it going to take along the way? What KPIs, what key performance indicators will need to be hit to get you there on the way? And what, for those indicators, what numbers do you need to hit quarterly, monthly, and weekly? And what simple daily actions? Boil it down to 3 to 5 daily actions that you can take and then go take them every single day. And whether you win or lose, have amnesia.
Whether you win or lose, it's not winning and losing, it's winning and learning.
Exactly.
Let's rephrase it. You're not
Yeah.
losing. Winners are learners and learners are winners. So it's just
100%.
taking that L word, that loser word out and replacing it with learning. I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just take your year-end goal. And then I am assuming in there as well, set a 3-year, 5-year, and 10-year vision. Write it
Hmm.
down
Yep.
and dream
Yeah.
big.
Yeah. I mean, lock yourself in a room for 2 hours and do your 10 year. Like, give yourself space, do meditation, breath work, listen to your favorite music, visualize it, put your pen on paper, and just start writing. And then keep going until your pen stops. Not till the clock's over, not when, give yourself enough time that you can keep going until the pen stops. And on that 10-year vision, create a perfect day. Start from the minute your eyes open and go until the minute your eyes close at night.
Get granular.
Hmm.
As granular as you can get. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love that. I have done that before, and then I forget that I wrote them, and then I go back and read them, and it is super scary how close to reality
Yeah.
some of those visions are. There's lots of stories out there as well. Is there anything, Chase, that, you wished I would have touched on and didn't that you wanna talk about?
Uh, Between our 2024 and our 2025 episode, I do believe we've covered as much of it as is useful.
Okay. And I think I ask everybody, what's one small step you can do today to help them change their tomorrow? We talked about writing out where you want to be on December 31st, 2025, and all those other things. How about can you think
If
of
we're
anything
talking
else?
today for their tomorrow, at the end of
Yeah,
the day,
sure.
write down your wins and don't just list them out. Like, I did this, did that. Like, give yourself full sentences. And then after you list your wins, give yourself your next three action items that are on the list, high priority for tomorrow. Things you either did not get to or are continuations of the things you did today. Just,
Perfect. Small
yeah,
step to help change the needle for tomorrow.
exactly.
Yeah. Chase, thank you for the gift of your time. I enjoy a conversation so much.
You and me both. So I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. How can people find you? Let's wrap it up with that.
Instagram at coach_chase_Tolleson or chasetolleson.com.
Perfect. Thanks again. This has been
Thank
great. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Small Steps, Big Wins podcast. I value your time with me, and I seek to make every moment count. In order to make lasting change in your life, listening is usually not enough. So I want to ask you, what practical steps are you going to put into action today as a result of listening to this podcast? Remember, any step, any action, no matter how small, starts your journey to a big win. And if you're not sure where to get started, reach out to me and let's have a conversation. Until next time, love yourself, then love others. Peace.